So let us see what is a cloud computing and how does AWS is mastering it and how why AWS is so much famous. So what is cloud computing? First, we'll see that. So computing has so many definitions are there, but one of the definitions we can talk about is cloud computing is a on-demand delivery of the computer power, database, storage, application and other IT resources via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So what is this pay-as-you-go pricing? We'll see later. But cloud computing can be defined as a service, or some company is providing that as a service where we can get the computer power, we can get the database service, we can get the storage to also, and we can get the application and other IT as a payment basis. And how does the payment go? Pay as you go. So that we are going to understand in the further videos. So first of all, this cloud computing is based on something called as infrastructure as software. So what is this infrastructure as software means? So what if you understand, then this infrastructure is basically that some hardware thing is there, and infrastructure as a software. What does that mean? So basically it says that, let's say I need a computer, but I don't have a place to keep the computer in my home, or I need a bigger system, I don't have a place to keep that. In that case, the computer is the infrastructure, but if I don't have a place to keep it somewhere, then what should I do? Let's say I have only a place where I can put a laptop, nothing else. So with a via laptop, what can be done is I can access a computer resource which is somewhere else it is stored, and the infrastructure will be provided to me. That means all the things that can be done with a computer will be provided to me via a internet. So what I need, I just need a browser. If I go to the browser, I can access a computer which is somewhere else infrastructure, or somewhere else it is stored, somewhere else it is created. So this says that the cloud computing enables you to stop thinking about the infrastructure. If you don't have a place to keep the infrastructure, don't do it. If you don't have the money, then don't do it. Just take it as a service. Instead, think of and use it as a software. Instead of using whatever you need as a hardware to install that, to you need a big capital for that. Instead of doing that, what you can do, you can just use it as a software. That is what the basic idea of cloud computing is. Okay. Now, so next is, in traditional computing model, what happens? So in traditional computing model, one is that infrastructure as a hardware you need. If you are going to create a big a server system or a database or any like storage system, then you need to buy so many hard disks and store it. How does Google store the data? So their buildings, like big buildings are there, they're only filled with hardwares or only storage devices. That we cannot do it. But if I want to store some data, where do I store it? I need a storage. So infrastructure as a hardware is the traditional computing model. If I need the storage, I have to buy some hardware. So what are the hardware solutions here? So requires space, requires staffs to maintain it, it requires physical security, also then planning, capital expenditure, so many things are involved, and have a long hardware procurement cycle. It's not easy that you just buy it. If you need a proper setup, go for quotations and all, it involves a long process. Then require you to provision the capacity by guessing the theoretical maximum peaks. That means, let's say I am creating a storage and 50 people are going to access that. So I need to create a service, or I need to create an infrastructure so that 50 people can access the data. Fine, that's the point here. But the main point is that if it goes beyond 50, if it is 100 sometime, if it is 1 sometime, the problem here is, if you have designed it for only 1, then what will happen? You have created for 50, but the space and the space is wasted. But if 100 will come there, then what will happen? Whatever it created is not sufficient. So it's a very difficult thing to manage, that how much capacity I should create. In that case, that is a traditional computing model what was going on. And in cloud computing model, what will happen? Infrastructure as a software will be provided. Previously, what we see, infrastructure as a hardware it is provided, but in cloud computing, the infrastructure will be provided to you by a software. That means somewhere else the storage will be there. I'll just be able to access it. And what happens there? These are flexible. Means flexible, you can understand that how much I want I can use it. It's not like that only 1 GB is available. If I need more, it will be more. But just pay and go, pay as you go. Whatever you need, you pay it, you'll get it. It's not like that you have to buy 50 GB, use or don't use, you have to buy 50. It's not like that. If you use 1 GB, then pay for 1 GB. That's how it goes. Then can change more quickly, easily, cost effective than the hardware solutions. Next, eliminate the undifferentiated heavy lifting task. Okay, what does that mean? Undifferentiated heavy lifting task means you don't need to have the hardwares or manpower to take it from one place to another place. So it's not like that. If you are changing your office space or something like that, then you have to transfer all your hardware. So that is a tedious work. But if I access that as a software just for my laptop, only the laptop is the one thing that I'll need. In that case, it will be very convenient, and that is what the cloud platform provides. So cloud service model. So what the cloud provides us. So there are three basic types of service that is provided by cloud. One is infrastructure as a service that we just explained, that instead of having a hardware or instead of owning a hardware, I can just access the hardware from a cloud provider and I can just pay that whatever storage amount I want to use. It may be a storage, it may be a full computer system, it can be anything. Next is platform as a service. So one is infrastructure as a service, basically the hardware. Then platform as a service means what? I need a Windows system to work on, or I need a Ubuntu system, I need a Mac OS. So these are the platform as a service. How these platforms are created, we'll see later. Next is software as a service. For example, there is a software you want to use for some simulation or some project, but the software is very costly and you need that for let's say 10 days and then the job is done. And the coster will cost 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees like this. So there is no point that for 10 days you will buy a software. So software as a service means these cloud platforms, they have the software, how much time you use it, based on that they will charge you, and it will be cost effective also, and you don't have to worry about once I use that what to do. So there is no thinking of that. For whatever amount I want to use, I'll use it, then it's done. So these are the three basic services that are provided with cloud platforms. What is that? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Next is cloud computing deployment models. How it is deployed means how does the cloud computing really work in networking point of view. So one is cloud. Cloud means what? Your hardware and everything is stored somewhere else. You don't have access to that. Hardware access is not there. You can just connect to that and use the infrastructure or use the storage like this. That is. Then next one is your hybrid. So hybrid means what? A part of the hardware is in the cloud where you don't have any control or you cannot physically see that. But a part of the hardware is also with you in your company, so that you can maintain some privacy and some up to some extent security and all those things are there. So it's a hybrid mode. And on premises means private cloud. I have the office, let's say I have 5 floors are there. One floor I'll use for this creating this infrastructure, all the server rooms, database storage will be there, and all other floors will be using from the one floor. That is what the idea of on premises cloud model. So basically we don't say that a cloud is a just on premise system, but the other two are cloud and the hybrid are the particular example of the cloud computing. Next, similarities between AWS and traditional IT. So what is the similarity? What kind of things we use in commonly there? So one is in traditional on-premises IT space, if you have own data center and storage place, then what you will be using? So you have to use firewalls, administrators. So these things are required to handle that. But in case of AWS, there is something called security groups. Further, we will see what is a security group. Then network ACLs is there, so we can use that as a software. Again, something called as IAM user. Instead of administrator, we can have a IAM user. So that we'll see what is IAM user. It's very important point in AWS. You can check out my previous videos how to work with IAM users. So this is traditional thing. For the security purpose, these are the difference. Everything you see in the AWS part is just a software, means through a browser you can do it. Next one is for networking. What I need a router is required, the network pipeline is required, then switch is required. All these hardwares are required to keep at some place. But in AWS, if you are using or you need a networking platform or service, then there is something called elastic load balancing, and Amazon VPC means virtual private communication, so that can be used. So these are the software again, so you just have to go to a browser and you can use it, that's it. Then computers, on premise computer, you need to buy so many computers if so many people are going to use it. But in case of uh, AWS, if you are taking any service from AWS, there is something called AMI, Amazon Machine Imaging. So in this case, one computer Windows I can create, and I can clone it for several computers, and I can just use it through a browser. I don't need to have a hardware with me. So every employee of me, I'll tell them, you should have your own laptop, and I will provide the computing to them through the laptop. Now you must be thinking, when there is a laptop, then what is the need of this? Because your laptop can be a basic one with a very basic processor, it cannot do so many data processing jobs. But with this cloud system, if I get, I can do so many of things, and something called as Amazon EC2 services or instances. So elastic computing, so elastic cloud computing, basically that's why the EC2 it is called. So with EC2 also we can create computers remotely, and we can access that through a browser. Then storage and database, like we need data systems, and there are database management systems are also required. So many things are there in hardware. But in case of AWS or cloud practitioners, so there is something called as Amazon EBS, Amazon EFS, S3 storage, RDS. So RDS is a database system, so relational database we say that. So all these things are again based on software. We don't need a hardware for that. So with the use of the cloud, so many things comes to just a click on the mouse. That's it. We don't need to bother about the hardware. We don't have to maintain it. The cloud provider will maintain all the things. So that's a win-win for all the people. Like they are created the infrastructure, they are using it as a business. We need the infrastructure, we don't have to put so much capital into it, so we can use it. So it's a win-win situation for both, and that is what the basic idea of a cloud computing and basic idea to AWS. So next video will be going to deep into that how we can use this cloud computing for different purposes, and what are all the services that I told here, EC2, elastic load balancing, all those things we'll see in the upcoming videos. So check into the upcoming videos.